to kitchen sink livecroscopy. I just I got really angry today when I heard about the ruling that the cops that killed Breonna Taylor all got off scot-free, with the exception of one who got in trouble for some of his bullets missing her and going into the walls of the apartment. I mean, yeah, that's dangerous. That's a bad thing. But, I mean, there was a murder there. So basically, there's going to be riots, probably starting tonight. There's going to be riots, and I'm already pissed off because I know there's going to be people bitching about the riots and then just kind of shrugging their shoulders about the fact that an innocent woman was killed. So, like, here's the thing. If you're really absolutely against riots and property damage and destruction, then you should want to be vocal about putting an end to the things that people are rioting about. I mean, right? When you have a disease, it makes more sense to treat the cause so it doesn't happen rather than try to put a band-aid on it and just pretend and hope it goes away, right? Makes sense. Okay. So if you really have a problem with rioting, get out there and be loud about defund the police. Learn about it. It's not what it sounds like. You know, the police are tasked with a pretty heavy load, right? We just want to lighten the load. Take money away from them, put it into social services, etc., etc. This isn't about that. We've got an episode on that. You can check that out. But what people are really angry about, I think, isn't the rioters. They're angry about the message. They're angry that people are fighting back against being oppressed. And you know, it's not just a black thing. This is something that everyone really should be concerned about. This could happen to you. These no-knock warrants, sometimes it's the wrong place. I can't remember exactly if that was the case in this situation, but it was a no-knock warrant. I'm going to get to bitching about that. But if they go to the wrong place, that could be your pasty white ass getting shot in your bed. You really need to be pissed off about this. And it's time to start doing something. I mean, look at the way our country is just falling apart all around us. And the people that are supposed to be, you know, upholding the law or whatever, they're totally shit in the bed. This is not cool. So I don't like rioting, right? I wish it didn't come to that. But I understand it, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it coming to that because you have to get loud. You have to break some shit because people aren't listening to you. If people aren't listening to you, you have to do something to get their attention. But all these assholes, rather than being like, okay, you have my attention, they're like, you're a terrible person. And, you know, blue stripe on the flag and defend the police, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, yeah, I get that police have a difficult job, a dangerous job, not the most dangerous, not the most difficult, not even underpaid, really. They're better paid than our own soldiers, which you also love, right? And they're held to a lower standard than our soldiers. Does that make sense? No. So here's the thing. When it comes to cops, I really want to avoid saying that all cops are bad. I really do. Or all cops are bastards, or whatever that acronym is supposed to stand for. I don't like to see things in black and white. But if there are good cops don't see stuff like this happen and do nothing or say nothing. They need to be calling out their brothers in arms. They need to be taking action. They need to step in and pull their buddy off George Floyd. They need to say, hey, you know what? Let's be conscientious objectors and not do this no-knock warrant, you know? The whole idea of no-knock warrants is all about drugs. Fucking drugs. All right? Let people get high. You know? You want to make money off of it? Just legalize it. People are going to get high either way. You know? Just tax it. Make it legal. Get rid of all this no-knock warrant bullshit, the drug war bullshit, all the people in prison over this, a lot of them which are black. You know, there's a really good argument for this being heavily tilted in the direction of a racist sort of infrastructure. You know, the drug war and just the inequities in how people are sentenced for these quote unquote crimes, these victimless crimes. It's really infuriating. All right. But if you want to be a good cop, if you're out there and you're listening and you're a cop and you're feeling your heckles, whatever, getting up over what I'm saying, just remind yourself of why you're a good cop, why you got into this business, and then look at your neighbors. Are they tarnishing the badge? You know, are they taking what you take seriously? Are they taking it for granted? Are they taking it as an excuse to do this horrible sociopathic shit that they want to do and get away with, you know? Because that's what's happening here. The badge is letting these psychopaths get away with whatever they want to do, including murder. Just about anything gets overlooked. I mean, let's face it, we see celebrities getting harsher sentences than any cops. And that's pretty amazing because celebrities always get out early if they do time at all. You know, and every now and then someone gets used as an example, like Wesley Snipes or something. More often than not, though, celebrities get off pretty easy. Cops have it even easier. You know, we got to end qualified immunity. Number one, right off the bat. Like, if I formed a new system of government, that would be in the goddamn Constitution. You cannot treat people who are there to uphold the law above the law. They need to be on the same level as everyone else. And they really are. They're citizens. Police officers are just citizens with a job. Just like a garbage man, just like an accountant. It's just a job. You're just a citizen. You're not in the military. I know you like to pretend it with your uniforms and your ranks and stuff like that, but it is actually not the military. So maybe drop all that pretentious bullshit and that faux honor, because, you know, there really isn't any honor in the police departments across this country in this day and age. Maybe at one point there was. So I really originally, earlier today, I was thinking, you know, I really want to just kind of talk about riots. And then I saw this ruling come out and I was like, well, there's going to be riots after this. And I just wanted to get something out there live right away, just to say, hey, preemptively, if you're going to start bitching about the riots that will almost certainly come from this, please use this as an opportunity to learn, to listen to the voices of the oppressed. Listen to the people that are out there crying. I mean, this isn't rage and anger that come from you know, a gratuitous place. This is rage and anger that comes from prolonged stress, allostatic overload, if you're a biology nerd. This is something that comes from being tortured. I mean, this is a form of torture. Imagine having to tell your kids how to act around a cop because they might die otherwise. And in many cases, they do anyway. Imagine that. Like, put yourself in people's shoes for once. Because if you think you're being, if you think you're exercising empathy when you say, well, I feel bad about what happened to George Floyd. I feel bad about what happened to Breonna Taylor, but that's no excuse to burn shit. You're not actually exercising empathy. You're not even attempting to understand what it feels like. You're just recognizing that it's socially correct to say, "aw," when somebody dies. That's all you're doing. You are not actually exercising empathy. If you were exercising empathy, you would think, gee, what if this were my son or daughter or brother or sister or me, whatever you got to do to elicit the emotions in a hypothetical situation like that, so you can wrap your head around what these people are actually going to, whatever it takes, that's exercising empathy. And once you understand how that feels, and once you understand how you wouldn't want to feel that way, so you would hope that other people would be fighting for you, so you don't have to feel that way, so you don't have to raise your kids afraid of the police. Uh, when you get to that point, it's kind of like, oh, hey, light bulb moment. There's something wrong with the system. So this is why rioting happens. Yeah, it's shitty that things burn. It's shitty that glass is broken and things are stolen, even though they're completely written off by insurance. All that stuff, they're just things. Yeah, there's people's livelihoods and whatnot, but it's just not black and white. Some of the shop owners, they're like, yeah, let it burn. This is justified. Others, it's going to wreck them. It's going to leave them destitute. But you know what? If you really give a shit about that, you're not going to just sit there on your couch and bitch about the rioters. You're going to start bitching about the things that the rioters are rioting about. That's what it's going to take. And yeah, I'm going to say it again, calling out the good cops. If you're really a good cop, be a conscientious objector. It's very similar to the jury nullification effect. If you are asked to do a no-knock search warrant, which is against the Constitution, by the way, just don't. Say, no, I'm not doing that. Hey, you might get fired, but probably not, because as we've seen, there is a precedent for cops doing the wrong thing and completely getting away with it. You'll get a paid vacation. Yeah. Suspension with pay, I think they call it. Pending investigations. It's a vacation. Yeah. So I suppose that's enough of a rant for now. I'll keep this fairly short in relation to our full episodes. But it's food for thought, all right? Riots are a bad thing, but when you look at it relative to the things that are bringing about the riots, it's not as bad. And when you look at the situation that happened with Breonna Taylor or George Floyd, let's talk about both of these situations, because there are some differences. Breonna Taylor was just sleeping, and cops came in on, looking for drugs or whatever, with no warrant, or a no knock warrant. I mean, and that ultimately elicited an understandable response for the gentleman that was killed to start firing at what he had to presume were burglars or, competition, since, the drug war has made drugs illegal, which is completely silly. Whatever was going through his mind is what would be going through your mind if you heard your door get smashed in the middle of the night. And if you had a gun, you'd start shooting. And you know what? I wish he had gotten some better shots off. And you know what? That might sound really shitty, but there are laws on the books in most states. You can defend yourself against a police officer if you're being wrongly arrested and you fear for your life. And that includes like force. That means if the cop is trying to kill you, you can kill the cop and get away with it. And not in every state. Look that up before you do anything. And that's really the way it needs to be. It's really coming down to this situation, like I was mentioning, precedent. I know I said I was going to wrap this up, but here I go. There's a precedent that's being set by all these cops getting away with murder and saying they feared for their lives. Well, you know what? We're fearing for our lives too. Some of us more than others. And if you have to raise your kids to be afraid of the police when they get pulled over and to act especially respectful and all this stuff, which is totally bullshit, then you all right, let me try a different angle here. Because I don't want to make it look like I'm advocating violence against police, but really, like, if you have a problem with rioting, if you tell people, hey, you can't protest that way, I don't like it, then you're removing one of their choices, which is way better than the next step up, which would be to defend themselves at all costs. So if you get pulled over and you're fearing for your life, stand your ground. Stand your ground laws. Cops are thugs. They're thugs with badges. Again, if there's good cops out there, do something about it. Turn your brothers in. Say something. Pull them off of George Floyd. Don't just stand there and watch this shit happen. I'm not again, I'm not saying all cops are bad. I don't want to have to say that. It's rolling down that slope though. And you really have to step up and show character, and you have to show honor, and you have to be such a good cop that people start seeing that, because it does exist, but it's getting overshadowed by the murder and getting away with this stuff and getting paid vacations for shooting people. All that has to end. And when it comes to resisting arrest, I really don't see how that justifies killing people or shooting them in the back. Things like that. Because really, let's face it, you're innocent until proven guilty in court. So these are all innocent people. And if you're trying really hard to arrest them over some bullshit, I mean, I would struggle too. I would resist too, because I have that right under the law. Actually, I got to check Tennessee now that I've moved. But in Washington, at least, that law is on the books. Now, if you think that petty crime or resisting arrest means your murder is justified, I question your morality. I question your ethics. And I kind of don't even want you in my life. And I'm not even talking about Facebook. Like, seriously, just GTFO. I don't want anything to do with you, because really that's just scum of the earth bullshit. And, like, I would rather, even if this petty criminal actually did something, like wrote a bad check or whatever, or sold some rolled cigarettes or whatever, even if that happened, right? I would rather they struggle a little bit and get away, and the cops go, you know what? No big deal. Now, if that person murdered someone, there'd be justification to hunt them down and, prevent them from doing it again, if it came to that. But you should still try to take them alive, okay? But I'm just saying, there's no justification when you're outnumbering someone right off the bat. Even if guns weren't in the picture, there's no way that like 3 or 4 cops shouldn't be able to contain a situation against one perpetrator. None of that ever should lead to somebody dying, okay? on either side. I don't want to see cops die either. You have these peaceful, innocent people getting killed by cops. Then the media goes and paints them in as bad a light as they possibly can without actually fabricating things. And it gets everybody into a frenzy about how they were just a criminal anyway. You know, it makes me think like, well, why don't we just kill everyone in prison and reduce the prison population? Because they all did something wrong to get there. And if you think getting killed on the street for resisting arrest is fine, well, you must think that killing anybody that commits any crime is fine. And let me tell you something. I don't think there's a person alive who hasn't broken some law. So chew on that. All right. Well, I've been blabbering for about 20 minutes. So I'll leave it at that. And if there's riots tonight, which I bet there will be, use your voice appropriately or shut up. You know, don't vilify the rioters. They've got every right to be pissed off, and just be glad all they're doing is burning shit and breaking windows and stealing things. Because you take that away, it only gets worse. Thanks for deep sink diving with us, and we'll catch you on the next exciting episode of Kitchen Sink Microscopy coming up Friday. We're going to talk about emotions, and have a good night.